This is Natalie Rolls, and you are listening to the Bill Podcast. Presented by Rob Cook. Brought to you in association with GeorgeFairbrother.com, shop.saturdaymorningpress.co.uk, vanguardcomics.co.uk, gibconsultancy.co.uk, mcr-seo.com, and donspillane.com.
You were in the show for 6-7 months.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm guessing being an actor at the time, getting a 6-month contract
Yes.
must have been pretty amazing.
It was lovely, yeah, very nice. And at the time there was a little bit of talk around maybe this will be a 2-year thing, and we'll see. But obviously, I realised very quickly when I got in there, everybody's on 6-month contracts, and that's how they operate. And that's understandable, I didn't have an expectation. I mean, I was hoping I would get longer, but when it came to the end of the 6 months and they didn't renew, that was, I was a bit disappointed. I felt a bit sad about it.
Did they give you a reason why they didn't renew then? Or?
I think what they wanted to do was they were looking at the casting for their upper echelon characters, and they wanted to mix it up a bit more. And so they wanted to change out people who hadn't been in that long. And I think that's what it's about. So it's sort of like last in, first out kind of thing, really. So, yeah, I mean, I can't say I wasn't disappointed. I would have liked to stay longer and do more. Aside from it being a nice payday, it was a great experience. And I think, it felt a bit tough coming out so early. I have to, when I look back on it now, knowing what I know now of what happened afterwards for me as an actor, I don't have a lot of regret about it, because I think one of the things that can happen for actors spending a lot of time doing series like that, and this is no judgment on anybody or criticism or anything, is you can get this potential to get a little bit stuck. You get quite comfortable doing that, and you're not really looking at doing other things, and that's fine, and for some people that's where they want to be. But for me, I think, I didn't choose to come out, but in a way, had I stayed longer and if they'd carried on, because I've known other actors who've done stuff like Casualty for quite some time, and making that decision about coming out is a very difficult decision to take, because you could think, well, I'm so typecast now by what I've done as an actor in this role. Will I do anything else? And that contrast between being incredibly busy to having nothing it's a very difficult thing to cope with, I think. And I have seen it happen for a couple of people. It's a tricky thing to do. So in a way, I look back now and I think, well, I don't have any regrets about it. But as I say, I would have liked to have stayed a bit longer and done a bit more, certainly, because of the stuff we've been talking about, about how they could have gone with the character and stuff. But they wanted to go another way. So
where would you have liked to have seen Stritch go, or as a character?
2 areas. One is the comic side of it. I love comedy. I really enjoy doing comedy, and I would have liked to have seen more of the sort of comic conflict between him and Conway. And also Meadows, Simon Rouse's character as well.
Yeah, you shared very few scenes with him.
Yeah, we did one. I think we did one episode, and we have a meeting between him and Conway and Stritch. And it's a bit naughty, there's a bit of niggle going on in there. And I would have liked to have seen more with that. And I worked with Simon afterwards, actually doing a theatre project with him. I did The Changing Room, David Story's The Changing Room at the Duke of York's with Simon. And that was lovely. It was really lovely to meet him again and work with him. Because, as you say, we didn't have a massive amount of contact on the show. So it was nice to get to know him outside of the context of that. So some of that in a comedic way, but also in a sense of drama as well, the conflict between expectation and how things need to be done. And I think I'd like to have seen some more of the sort of like the internal management style things of how things are done. Is it looking after our own, the Danny Ryan episode, where there's sort of potential for either corruption or, nefarious stuff going on, and being able to investigate stuff like that, or getting caught up in that kind of conflict between standing by, closing ranks in order to defend the organisation you work for, or being open about saying, hang on, there's a problem here. This is a serious issue and it needs to be looked. We need to be open about it. So I would have liked to have seen some more of that, but it wasn't to be. So there we go.
Oh. Where do you reckon Stritch ended up in life?
Well, I think he was so brilliant that he was fast tracked out of there. He'd done his, because that's one of the things they talked about when they talked about the background for the character when I took the role, was they were saying somebody on his career trajectory, graduate entrant, who's been to Bramshill, would have to do a role like Chief Inspector Ops in a station like Sunhill in order to then move on. But they wouldn't necessarily do it for a long period of time. So there was a logic to it. That he's done his stint, now he's moved on. But I think I would have liked. Also, I felt a bit sad I didn't get a sort of a goodbye episode, as to why he was going. I felt that was
Yeah,
a bit.
because
Yeah,
your last episode is the last one of the Target trilogy, and
that's
you're only in it briefly,
yeah,
walking down a set of stairs with Conway.
that's,
As I think it's Tosh Lines and a witness come suspect is
that's it.
walking up and she hears you.
Yeah.
Obviously because you two have given away a crucial point of the plot,
Yeah,
and that's the last we see of you, and
yeah,
it's like, oh
I know. I thought, that's sad. That's a bit sad.
yeah,
Especially, it was interesting when I was looking at the YouTube videos. I don't often look at comments, but I then looked at comments and I liked some of the comments they were saying about Stritch, about saying, "Oh, he's a real mean sod, isn't he?" and things like that. And I thought, yeah, there could have been more they could have done with that. So yeah, it was a little bit disappointing that it ended that way. I'm not quite sure what the thinking was behind that, but
I mean, they brought you in with a great entrance episode,
yeah,
and you've got
yeah,
all these other great episodes as well, and then you
yeah.
just quietly,
Sort of fizzle
you know,
out, really. Yeah, I think that's a shame. It'd be nice. It would have been nice to have a bit more of a dramatic exit, or at least some kind of explanation as to why he was going.
even a return episode a year later.
Exactly.
You're at the
Yeah,
yard or back of the yard, or you're a
yeah, and I think
superintendent.
that's it. And I think that's where his trajectory would have taken him, would have been to New Scotland Yard in some other role, a bit higher up, maybe, or superintendent or something like that. Moving on. But I thought also that when you were talking about where would his storyline go, I think there would have been some potential in that as well. That he set off to go, I'm going to tick the box, even though he's saying, look, I'm not here, I'm not a fly by night. There would have been an element initially of that's what it's about. I have to tick this box, I have to do this job, but then becoming more and more part of what that place was about, and therefore being, oh well, it's time to move on. No, I don't want to. I want to do this job now. This is the job that I do, and I'm really happy doing it. And I would have liked to have seen some of that as well, but we don't get to choose. It is a bit. That's the kind of profession it is. It's a little bit like that, and you have to accept the sort of the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. And I went on to do. I was fortunate because, interestingly, I was thinking about this recently. When I was doing the bill, I'd seen Debbie McWilliams, who's casting director for the Bond movies, when they were casting for Goldeneye. And they wanted me to come in and play a dastardly Russian officer in Goldeneye.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, and it would have meant having to take time out from doing the bill. And Bill said, no, can't release you. So I was like, oh. So a couple of years later, it was 97, when they were casting for Tomorrow Never Dies, Debbie, bless her, got me back in. And initially they saw me for naval ratings and naval officers, Royal Navy officers. And then I didn't hear anything. I thought, oh, well, that's gone. And then I got called in sort of back end of June 97, and they said, they want to see you for the part of the stealth boat commander. Jonathan Pryce's character, Carver, has a stealth boat, which he tricks the Chinese and the British into thinking that they're at war with each other. And they saw me for the commander of that, and I got that part. So I went off and did a couple of months on that in soundstage, 007 soundstage at Pinewood, which
Oh, was it Pinewood? Was it? Oh, okay.
yeah. No, all my stuff was shot in studio at Pinewood, and so I would have, potentially that would have been something that I wouldn't have got an opportunity to do, and that's the way I like to look at those things. Is it swings and roundabouts. One thing, one door shuts, another one opens. But yeah, a little bit sad that it wasn't more of a longer stint or a more featured. Goodbye. Or as you suggest, that's lovely. I hadn't thought of that, coming back a year later or something like that.
Well, they did it with some of them. They
Yeah,
would pop back for a guest spot
yeah,
a year, 2 years later, just
that's
as a
it.
nice little epilogue for the character. That would have been
Mm,
wonderful to give that to Stritch.
yeah,
Even if it was like a CIB thing, he's come back to investigate someone or just
yeah,
something. It would have been
that would have been
great.
cool.
Yeah.
Why aren't you writing those scripts?
Yeah.
Oh.
I was too young then.
Fair enough.
But going on to Bond then, I was just, you say you spent a couple of months filming that. I mean, how was that being on a Bond film?
That was a wild ride. It was great fun. I mean, goodness me, the interior, the set, I've never seen anything like it. And this 007 soundstage at Pinewood's huge, and they built the interior of the stealth boat, the whole thing in reality. So you had the bridge, and you had the loading bay bit underneath with all the missiles in, and all that stuff was all built. And then underneath, they had tanks which were flooded, and they did all the underwater filming. For like when Pierce and Michelle Yeoh go down, dive to the sunken Royal Navy ship, the Devonshire, which I've sunk to get the missiles off. Sorry about that. They were doing all that shooting kind of later on in the day after filming on the set. It was quite high pressure because they'd lost quite a bit of filming time at one point because Pierce had gone to Germany to shoot the sequences where he gets into one of Carver's newspaper offices in Hamburg. And Pierce was very keen to do a lot of the stunts himself. And he was very good at it, real athlete. I mean, Daniel Craig's really interesting to watch. And in a way you think, oh, well, he looks much more gritty and tougher than Pierce. But actually, when you look at what Pierce was doing, he was doing some pretty extraordinary stunt stuff. And he did a lot of the fight stunts himself. And unfortunately, one of them, guy was wearing a safety helmet and he caught him in the face with the safety helmet and cut his face. So for continuity purposes, it completely blew it out of the water and they couldn't shoot with him. So they fell behind. And I was scheduled to start filming sometime in July. I can't remember exactly when it was. And the date that I was meant to start, I was contacted and said they can't start because of this incident that's occurred. So they're gonna you know, just sit tight and they'll get to you. And it went right, and I'd been contracted, I think it was like a month contract or slightly less maybe. And it got right down to the last day that I was contracted. And the day before I was phoned up and said, can you be ready with cars picking you up at 5 o'clock? And I went, yes, okay, good. Oh, phew. Because I was beginning to think, oh, shit, if this goes by the board, then maybe they'll just recast or something. So I went up to Pinewood in the car, got put in costume, makeup, hung around a bit on set. This is the set. Oh, good Lord. This is what we're doing. We're going to film this sequence. You're in the scene. But it was all filmed looking away from me. So, and that went on all day. And they didn't turn around on me at all. And it was getting later on in the day. And then we got to about the last hour I was on the set. And then they said, all right, turn it around. Let's film the sailboat captain now. So you've got these lines. And so we did all that and we shot it. And I came off the set and I went to my dressing room, my trailer, I should say. And I got in my trailer and my new, for the first time ever owning a mobile phone, that went off. This thing that's about this big, an aerial. Hello. And it's my agent saying, have you actually been filmed on set? Are you in the can, as it were? And I said, yes. He went, okay, I'll get back to you. And then he phoned me while I was being driven home and he said, they've recontracted, they've got for another month, but they were trying to get you at a lower rate. And he said, so I've come back and said, well, as I understand it, he's already established. So no, we're not doing that. But I think that was all part and parcel of what was going on for them at the time, that you know, costs were stacking up. And they'd originally intended to film in Vietnam and that had fallen through. They'd had to move everything on location to Thailand. So I think they had some real production issues going on in the background. So it made things feel a little bit tense. Crack on, don't annoy the director, because he had a couple of quite serious moments on set where people got told off, and I'm glad it wasn't me.
Okay.
Put it that way, you just got to go. But aside from that, it was a fantastic thing to do. Really, really lovely thing to do, and it's nice to be able to tell people that's something that you've been involved in, and it's a part of film history. And I think it's something we Brits do really well as well, actually, you know, that sort of stuff.
spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it, which would be amazing if you haven't. You also get shot at the end by Pierce.
Yeah.
And I saw a still. I was looking online for some photos. I saw a still in it, and was that actually you doing the stunt?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did my own stunt. Yes. And that was quite funny because what they wanted to do was because I'm in the bridge and they have these big glass panels from the sort of the loading bay where the missiles were, and he swings across on chains, jumps down onto the gangway, and starts to walk towards the bridge. And he could see me leaning over one of the crew, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to put in the coordinates to launch a nuclear strike on Beijing. And I see him as he's coming towards me, grab my pistol, and he shoots me through the glass. So it's this big dramatic moment where, and the glass shatters, and I'm dead, and I die. So when they set it up, they explained, and they said, "Well, it's a big pane of sugar glass, so we can break it, and it won't injure anybody. But we can only do this shot once. And we've got a ball bearing gun underneath the camera, and we'll fire ball bearings at the glass, which breaks it, and you've got to die. And we can only do it once. So no pressure, Mark." And I'd gone off with the stunts, and they'd shown me they got a crash mat out for me, and they said, "So what you've got to do is you've got to, the bullets are hitting you. What would that look like?" And we're doing all this. Yeah, well, that's great. Do it a bit faster. Yeah, that's really good. Oh, you should be a stuntman. You're brilliant. Get on the set, setting up the shot, and they bring the crash mat in for me. And the director of photography, I can't remember his name, American chap, and he comes over and he's looking at this shot and he goes, "What's that?" "It's a crash mat for Mark." He went, "No, you don't need that. Oh, you're only going to do it once. Pull it out of the way." "Oh, okay." So off we go, shoot, bang, glass goes, do my stunt, die, cut, great. Let's set up, let's go again. And I went, "Oh, are we doing, no, not with the glass, but we'll just shoot it a few more times to make sure we've got the shot of you do it." I think they did about another 8 takes. And I was like, whoa, bang on the floor every time. I got up the next day, I felt like I'd been in a car accident. I had whiplash. I was like really bruised. I did my own stunt on a Bond movie. But yeah. Well, thanks, guys. One of several films and TV things that I get bumped off in. So,
well, the other next film I was going to mention was Sleepy Hollow.
Exactly.
So, I mean, how did that job come?
Well, I'm not sure I'm not sure quite how I got in the frame for casting for that. Other than possibly because it was the year after I'd done the Bond, so I don't know whether it was just in the zeitgeist or whatever. But Susie Figgis got me in to the Dorchester Hotel to meet Tim Burton and Scott Rudin. It was brilliant. I was saying to my wife before I went, "Oh, Tim Burton, I'm such a fan. I think his work's brilliant." So I was saying, "Oh, I'll say I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan." She went, "No, don't do that. You're a professional actor, cool it." So I did, and they were just a delight to meet and really, really nice. And we just chatted. We just had a chat, and then they came back and said, "Yeah, they want you to play Jonathan Masbeth, who gets decapitated. So you're going to have to go back up to Lewiston and start getting ready for all the special effects stuff. They want to do a cast of your head and your hands and." They want to fit you for a wig and do all the makeup tests and costume fitting and stuff like that. So straight away into it, and it was lovely. And we shot some exteriors up in a place called Hamilton Valley in Buckinghamshire, where they built the village of Sleepy Hollow, extraordinary built set. And we shot all the exteriors there. So the bits that I was involved in, like going up into the stockade. And then they said, "Right, we're going to get you into studio and we'll do you being decapitated by the Headless Horseman." Sorry, everybody, spoilers if you haven't seen it. And then again, a little bit like the Bond film. And then, okay, so it's an unringing my agent. "Are they going to get me back in?" "I'll give them a ring." Yeah, they're going to get you. They'll get you. Don't worry. And then they say, "Yeah, we do want you to come in. Can you come in tomorrow?" So off we went. Get there really early in the morning, makeup, wig, costume, ready. Sit there all day. Comes to lunchtime, somebody comes in and says, "What do you want for lunch?" "Oh, I'll have the chicken, please." Chicken comes. "Sorry, you're not using it." "It's okay, don't worry." Eat the chicken, blah, blah, blah. Sat there for the rest of the day. End of the day, "Sorry, Mark, we're going to release you. We haven't got round to you today." And that happened about 6 times. It got to the point I was getting used to it. So then when I finally went up to Shepperton the day they did shoot me in studio, I was mildly disappointed. I hadn't got another day, free meal, sat around reading, watching TV, doing nothing. And then, so shooting in studio. So all the Westwood, the Wild Wood stuff with a chase and where I get decapitated was all shot in studio.
Okay.
It's extraordinary set. The art direction on that movie was brilliant.
Well, it does its thing because you wouldn't guess that it's in a studio. I mean, how was it? How was it being decapitated? That's what I can ask.
It was having a head cast made is quite an experience. I mean, they're a lot more sophisticated nowadays than back in the day when they used to do the old plaster Paris casts and stuff like that. They use a kelp derivative called alginate, and it makes this sort of rather sort of rubbery, stretchy kind of material, and you get it put all over your face, which is odd, and then it's wrapped in cling film, and then you've got your hands in buckets of alginate to make the hand cast. So it just feels strange, but the special effects guy was brilliant, the Brit. He just was so good. Keep calm, chatting away, telling you all the things not to do with your head. If you come into contact with your head, so don't put cigarettes in its mouth. don't ask if you can keep it after the film. Don't say to special effects people, "Oh, I bet you're a wow at Halloween." So it's just nice and chatting away. And he was telling me about going over to New York and doing the head cast for Christopher Walken, who played the Headless Horseman. And he said that was quite tricky because Christopher Walken had a bad experience back in the 60s with a head cast where it got stuck and they couldn't get it off.
Oh, wow.
So he'd be very reluctant initially to say, "Do I have to do it?" So he went over. So this guy was very skilled at what he did. I mean, I think the special effects on it are extraordinary because although there's some CGI because it was just, I think, made 98, 99. So they were beginning to use CGI for some of the stuff. A lot of what you see is made patterns. It's not CGI. It's not green screen or blue screen or motion capture. So that the actual head coming off, which you see, is quite extraordinary. They had a stunt in a costume the same as mine, but he had like a false set of shoulders and a stump which they put the head on, and inside the stump was a pipe which went down to a gas bottle in his costume. And so they call it a pop-off. And so at the requisite moment, as the sword goes on the back of the neck, he pressed the button and the head flies off. And so extraordinary. And I remember I did ADR on it, which is, putting sound on after the films we shot. And they asked me to come to studio in Soho and just do a bit of ADR on it, running sounds and panting and stuff like that. And they said, "Oh, we'll just show you the take before you do the ADR." And I went, "Yeah, okay." And I watched it and I was seeing your own head rolling about and then a sort of like flash of lightning and you're going, "Okay." Yeah, amazing experience. And Tim Burton was such a lovely guy to work with, really enjoyable person to work with, very gentle, very down-to-earth person. Yeah, lovely atmosphere.
Obviously, as you mentioned earlier, over the course of your career so far, you've played a lot of cops.
Yes.
What makes you a great screen copper? Why do people cast you as a cop? I mean, you've covered all ranks. I was looking at your CV from PC all the way up to Assistant Chief Constable. What makes you a great screen cop?
I'm not sure. I think it's a certain look, to be honest with you, that does a lot of the work for you. And I can look quite stroppy. See, I did it there. Yeah, and and once you put that costume on, the bearing, the character. I remember I did an episode of Casualty where I played a police officer, and we were shooting on location, and I was waiting. I think I was waiting for a car to come and pick me up to take me to lunch. So I was standing there, and I was in full costume, and a guy drove past me in a car, wound his window down, and said, "Is it all right to park here?" And I went, "Oh yeah, I think so." Yeah, I'm not actually a policeman, I'm an actor. Oh. So there must be something, and I think, as I say, a lot of it is it that it does the work. But yeah, it's that kind of bluff, nonsense, which is not who I am, I have to say.
I was going to say, do you think you would make a good copper in real life?
Oh God, no! Good Lord, no! It's a much too difficult job. I have a couple of friends who are police officers over the years, gosh, I think what it requires is quite special, really, and a lot of courage as well. You know, very front line. One of our friends, a police officer, was involved in the 2011 riots, and you know, actually was in fear of losing her own life at one point because of what went on. So, you know, it's not. I don't think I'd like to put myself in the way of that level of danger. I'm a coward, basically. Let's put it that way. I think I'm a better actor than I would be a police officer. But I really appreciate, you know, what it is that they're able to do, and also the potential for drama that comes out of the profession. I've been very fortunate because of that.
Yeah. Just looking to other elements of your career, you've done corporate work with role playing and facilitating. What led you to that, and what do you do with that as a role?
Well, that's a big part of my career. With a group of friends, we did an improvised comedy soap at the East Dulwich Tavern many moons ago, and one of the guys who was involved in it had a relative who worked for EDF. And said, "Oh, you've got friends who are you're an actor. You've got friends who are actors, and then you're good at improv." And he said, "Well, yeah, actually, I'm involved in an improvisation group." He said, "Well, we need people to come in and do sort of improvisation training with people." It was quite early days of this kind of work in the early noughties. Could you put a team together just to come in and do some work with us? So I got involved with that, and then they, because of that, they got quite successful as he and his wife set up a company, and they got involved with a couple of training organisations that used actors. In role play training, difficult conversations and sales conversations and things like that, where they need a body in a room who can go, well, no, why would I do that, and stuff, and so it went on from there, and then through doing that, realised there were other companies that specialised in this kind of work and had clients and wanted actors to come in and do it, and so I've started to get more involved and get more experience at doing it, so better at doing the feedback and the facilitation side of things. So it's grown from there, really. So a fair bit of it still. I enjoy it. I really like the sort of learning and development side of things. I think training environment. Often people go, training, God, but actually it's very positive in life. It can be a very positive environment to work in, and you see it often with people where they've been told they're going to do some training and some actors are going to come in, and you can see they're dreading it. and what's nice is to be able to work with them and go, look, come on, it's not that painful. You know, it could be a little bit embarrassing, but we're not going to get you to pretend to be a tree. You know, this is to help you. How are you? Do you manage people? How effectively are you managing them? What are your conversations like? You know, how do you give feedback to people? And it's all that interaction stuff that I think, you know, I've had to learn a lot about it through doing the work, really. But we're all communication experts because we're human beings. It's just sort of refining it and using the transferable skills from my world of acting that you can help people with. You know.
Yeah, I think because you get to meet lots of new people every time you do it, and seeing people grow and develop through what you do must be a joy.
It's nice if people have light bulb moments when they're doing it. You can see that, you know, if they take one thing away that they're going to try differently. And, you know, on the other side of it, it's up until COVID, I was doing a lot of travel with it. So I was travelled a lot, South Africa, China.
Oh, wow.
Malaysia, a lot around Europe. Very few countries in Europe I haven't gone and done some role play work in. It's kind of like a bit of a mixed blessing because you go, oh, I get to go to Vienna, and you go to Vienna and you arrive at Vienna at 8:00 in the evening, check into a hotel. Wow, oh, how awful is that? Get up the following day, have breakfast, do a training day, get in a taxi, go back to the airport, fly home, and you go, yes, I've been to Vienna, I think. But, you know, I loved it. When my wife and I did a theatre project earlier this year with some friends, one who directed the show and the other one wrote it. So we're still keeping in there.
Is that the Allegra?
Yes, that's right. Allegra Productions. That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So Sex and Death in Southwold.
That's it. Yeah.
You've done 3 of those now. Is that right?
We did 3. It's a trilogy: Death in Southwold, No Sex in Southwold, and then the last one, Sex and Death in Southwold. So I don't think we're doing any more on that particular theme, but I think they are looking to do an adaptation of an Iris Murdoch play called The Severed Head. It's a novel called The Severed Head, but we'll have to see. More will be revealed, as they say.
Oh, okay. That was you actually performed the Southwold stuff in Southwold, didn't you?
Yes, that's right. That's right. Because there's a venue there. We originally we were setting it up because there is a theatre here in where I live in Bournemouth called the Shelley Theatre, which is really nice. Which we were going to do stuff at, but when the pandemic happened, it shut. It's never reopened, which is very sad. So, so they found this alternative venue, and it's a Southwold Arts Centre. It's a tiny little theatre. There used to be Jill Freud used to run a summer theatre there. So it's got that kind of connection, and they still do summer theatre there that Jill Freud's not doing it. So that's the kind of thing, you need to keep those muscles working.
Yeah. I mean, I live in Suffolk myself, so I'm not too
whereabouts?
far. Mendlesham. It's about halfway up the A140 between Ipswich and Norwich. So yeah, when I was just looking into other stuff that you've done, I saw you'd been in Southwold only a couple of months ago. I was like,
I know.
What are the chances? But
I'll let you know if we're going back. So.
Oh, that'd be lovely. Yeah, I mean, Southwold itself is a lovely, lovely place. The whole area of the country is lovely to visit. We were only there early in the summer just for my wife's birthday, and it'd be beautiful part of the world. You recently attended the London Film Fair last month.
Okay.
Which I think you're advertised as a first time signer.
Yes.
Was that your first time signing at an event? Yeah. How was that for you?
It was great, actually. I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. I wasn't sure what to expect. He pursued me, the guy who runs it, Lawrence, because he tried me a year before, and the dates he'd given me I hadn't been able to do. So when he came back, I was quite pleased in a sense. But I wasn't sure what to expect. But it was very nice in the sense that you're meeting a lot of people who are very clued up about what you do, and they're very enthusiastic about what it is that it represents. And it's just nice. It's what I call an innocent pleasure. People get a lot of pleasure and enjoyment out of it. And,
What were you most remembered for at that event? Was it Bond or
Bond mostly? Although Sleepy Hollow, because you have a big part, you have sort of like loads of photos in front of you, and you sign them for people. And obviously, they pay a fee for you to sign a photo for them, and the majority of them were from the Bond movie, but there was some from Sleepy Hollow as well. And also, actually, they had some from the Bill. Oh, yeah. And a couple of people came in and they had the postcard.
Oh, yeah.
Which I said to them, those are quite rare now. I've only got one, and I had to steal that off a relative of mine because I used to have a stack of them. But, you give them away to people. Go, oh, look, it's a bit of a laugh. Or you send them to them, look what I'm doing, and things like that. And they just go, and then they're gone. And so I can't remember who it was. I think it was my sister had one and said, oh, I found this in the drawer. Do you want it? And I went, yes, please. A couple of people came up and I was quite surprised. They went, oh, you were in the bill, weren't you? Yes, that's right. Will you sign my farm? I said, by all means. That's quite rare, that, Keep that. We'll see that on Antiques Roadshow in about 30 years' time. So it was good. It was nice. It was a pleasant event. It was good.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it. And then, I don't know if you're aware, but speaking of events, it's weird that this has come up when it did, because then this last weekend just gone, I was invited to go and do a personal appearance, a screening of Sleepy Hollow in Ashford, the Ashford Cinema.
Wow!
Yeah. Ashford Cinema had been owned by, I think it was the Picture House Company, but they closed it because they weren't making enough money to run it, and Ashford Town Council taken ownership of it. So Ashford now has its own independent cinema, and it's a really nice venue. If anybody's listening and you live in the Kent area, go to Ashford Cinema, support your local independent cinema. And they're doing a whole series, it's called the Silver Scream.
Very nice.
He's running a whole season of horror films, particularly, and getting people in from the industry to do sort of Q&As afterwards. So we did a little Q&A afterwards. It was lovely. It's a really nice thing to be able to do, and lovely to see Sleepy Hollow on the big screen again. Because it's been, I think, the last time I saw it in the big screen was when it was first released. These are nice things to be able to do, and it's nice to take part in this.
Thank you. It's been great that you said yes when I got the email back from your agent saying you're up for it. I was like, yes, brilliant. Here we go. And looking back on your career so far, where does Stritch and the Bill sort of stand amongst everything that you've done so far?
I think it's quite a big high point, really, because as I was saying earlier, when I started doing it, although I had some TV experience, I hadn't done a vast amount. And after that, even though it was a relatively short stint on the programme, I felt much more confident and established as a television actor. because it's quite a weird transition to make from doing theatre. If you've never done any TV or film, you're very much less in control of what the work looks like or what you're asked to do or how you're asked to do it. So to be able to do something where you're working all day, basically in studio, filming and scene after scene and doing it on a regular basis, it just sort of breaks that kind of anxiety around it. Feel much more comfortable and assured. And also, as I say, you know, the opportunity to work with it was really interesting because I could remember most people's names, but I went back through the cast list and you realise you just worked with some really classy actors, really experienced actors. And I think it was a real proving ground for a lot of people. And that's something that was very special about it, I think. And also that, you know, if you're listening to this and you love this kind of drama, go to the theatre. Support your local theatre. Because this is where these actors come from that background. I look back at it as a high point.
Did you share a dressing room with anyone else in the cast?
I didn't. We didn't. We had our own dressing room.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
the
okay.
wonderful ex-bottling plant in South Merton that was that we filmed in. I was right next to Jeff, actually. Jeff Stewart. We're neighbours. But we hung out a lot. There was a green room. So you didn't really necessarily want it because you're inside a bottling plant. There's no natural daylight. Sitting for long periods of time in your own dressing room, unless you're doing some things like learning lines, which is useful for, it wasn't necessarily somewhere I spent a lot of time in. So you'd go and get a cup of tea and a skit in the green room. And also it was an opportunity to meet the guest actors, which I thought was really important because sometimes going in as what the Americans call a day player on a series like that, it's quite tricky. It's quite a difficult act to pull off. You've got to be able to go in and feel confident enough to do your scenes with people who don't really know you and hang around a lot because 85% of acting is hanging, waiting. So yeah, we used to make a very competitive table tennis, ongoing massive table tennis tournament with Higginson and Steve Beckett really belting the ball about like crazy. That was always fun.
I suppose also from a guest star point of view, you were in that position prior to joining, so you knew
exactly
what it was like from the other side.
Seen it from the other side, so I always, go in and if there was anybody in there I didn't recognise or they weren't wearing a police uniform, I'd always say, hello, my name's Mark, how you doing? Getting on, what are you doing? And you could tell from the colour of the scripts as well, is it a red script or a green script, which production team you're working with. Is it the dreaded beige script, which was reshoots? Whenever it had beige, you go, okay, what happened there? So it's quite a nice atmosphere to that extent. You just hang around, talking rubbish,
playing table tennis.
Playing table tennis, yeah.
Obviously, the Bill's been off our screens now for 15 years.
Yeah,
2010, August 2010 is when it last aired. Obviously, it's still on all the back channels being repeated. So in a way, it kind of feels like it's never left, even though it has. But there's been talk in recent years of the show maybe coming back. Do you think it should come back? And if so, how? In what form?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. To some extent, I do think it should come back. And in what form, I'm not sure, because I know because I was at the half-hour programs, which were kind of very unique in their own way. Very nice, tight storylining, I thought. And then it went to hour-long episodes again, didn't it? Which is what it had been originally. And I wasn't so familiar with that. I saw a few, but I didn't watch that many of them. And that gives you more space. So in a sense, if it came back, I think it would be better for it to come back in that kind of format rather than the half-hour. Things have moved on. We're much more, I suppose we're used to all this sort of like very Scandi noir kind of film police dramas and things like that. So in a sense, something that's a bit more operational, police procedural in a sense, might be an antidote a bit to that or an alternative anyway. And I think it's also building those characters. So although I said soap, I don't mean that in a negative way at all. Those series have a lot of value in terms of how they build character and the sort of storylines you're able to provide for people. And you can really sort of ring the changes and you can do some really surprising things with it as well to freshen it up. Not necessarily, leaving an airplane lands on the police station or however they did it in Emmerdale or wherever it was. Was it Hollyoaks where they've gone forward in time or something like
They
that?
have now, yeah.
Yeah, they've definitely jumped forward 2 years in time and you go, no.
And then got rid of half the cast, I think.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
That's a bit radical, isn't it? Let's face it.
There's even, I think, Corrie, I was reading on Twitter the other night, Corrie, I think, as a character got bumped on the head, run over, and then stabbed or something, and was still surviving at the end of the episode. And I was just like, this isn't the Corrie I used to watch back in the day, you know.
No, and so it's shifted and changed, and and as you say, so sometimes that sort of sensationalism, it becomes something that's it's like Enders. There's always a Christmas drama. There's always a Christmas murder or something happens at Christmas, you know, and it's become very predictable. And in a sense, that plays to an audience to want to see that. But I think talking about the Bill, if it did come back, I think it would operate in a very different space, even though it has that soap element about it. And I think taking the positive things from what soaps are about, which is great continuous storylining, really good opportunity to build characters and to have them go through quite sort of sophisticated journeys as people, like we all do as human beings, you know, but in drama terms. So a little bit artificial, but yeah, I think it's got to play.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd certainly like to see it come back in some form or another.
Yeah.
Looking back at your career so far, is there one role or production that you're most proud of? And if it's something that's on screen, what could you say to people to say, like, watch that?
Ooh, it's quite an odd one, but yeah, Mad McCulloch, Sergeant Mad McCulloch in Seaforth is what I would call a very bravura kind of performance because he's mad. If people had a chance to see Seaforth, watch it. I thought it was a good series, and it didn't go to a second series, partly because Linus Roach didn't want to do another series. But the writers had teed it up to go into another series, and I thought it was good. Neil Williams is in it, and it's a very good cast. Myself, obviously,
yeah.
And I thought it was well done. But it was very well done. So that's 94, so it's going back away. But yeah, that. And also before that, I did, as I said, same director. I did a series called Resnick. I did the second series of Resnick with Tom Wilkinson and played a drug squad officer. But I really enjoyed working on that. And I thought that was good storylining and it was an enjoyable character to play. What else have I done? I would always say Sleepy Hollow and Tomorrow Never Dies. Off the top of my head, I think television film, that would be where I would say. I've done quite a lot of theatre. I love doing Shakespeare. I played Angelo in Measure for Measure years ago, and I loved it. That's ephemeral. It's gone.
Yeah.
I'm too old to be cast in that part now. So.
And have you got a message for the Bill fans watching this podcast right now?
Well, it's lovely that there's this level of fandom and interest in it. And it generated that all the time. And, you know, even the short period of time that I was in it, I got fan mail, and that was lovely. But that you knew that there was a fan base out there that took a real interest in it and really enjoyed it. Their interest, or if I speak directly to them, your interest and your continued engagement with it is really lovely. It's really nice. And it's a real pleasure to me to know that people still get pleasure out of it. And as I said to you earlier, that kind of thing about an innocent pleasure that's about people being entertained. And that's what we want to do is entertain people and yeah, maybe challenge a little bit, but also make sure that people are entertained mainly, because that's why people watch us and what's given me a profession, and a very enjoyable one. I'm very fortunate to do a job I really love. And as I'm saying, I'll say it again, you know, if you like television, go to the theatre, because that's where the actors come from.
And still perform now as well.
And still perform now, yes. Coming to a town near you. And if you live in the Ashford area, please go to the Ashford Cinema. Can I plug it like that? Is that okay?
Keep going. It's not a problem at all. Lovely. Well, Phil, thank you very much for the chat. We've been chatting for an hour and a half now. It's been lovely, and it's been lovely rewatching your episodes as Stritch and Gordon and Hugh Parkinson as well. And it's a great era for the show. But it's been lovely going over those episodes again and seeing your performances, and you are brilliant as Stritch. I just wish they'd done more with him, or at least given you an exit.
So do I. But thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
That's all right. It's not a problem at all.
And thank you for sending the links to me as well. That wasn't half bad, actually.
Yeah, really good. They do stand the test of time.
Really enjoyable to pick back up on it after a long time.
This is Natalie Rolls, and you have been listening to the Bill Podcast. Brought to you in association with GeorgeFairbrother.com, shop.saturdaymorningpress.co.uk, vanguardcomics.co.uk, gibconsultancy.co.uk, mcr-seo.com, and donspillane.com. The Bill Podcast is produced by Oliver Crocker and co-produced by Ben Adams, Glenn Cooney, Bryony Kelly, Maz Mirabilis, Alex Mockler, and Simon Wolfe. Our executive producers are Isabel Allen, Mark Bennett, Christopher Booth, Rob Cook, James Crissell, Rebecca Deeprose, Alana Dewar, Andrew Dyack, Dan Evans, George Fairbrother, Stuart Gibbon, Vicky Greatbanks, Luke Hegarty, Robert Hoger, Edward Kellett, James Ledane, Thomas Johnston, Dave Meakin, Gary Moncur, Danny Morris, Steph Morris, Laura Pinney-Fay, Isaac Powell, Alistair Wrigley, Michael Seeley, Don Spillane, Angel Stannard, Paul Statter, Patrick Stratford, and Sarah Went. Huge thanks to all you lovely producers who make the Bill Podcast possible. For over 200 hours of bonus content, visit patreon.com/The Bill Podcast.